dollar sign. So if that's the expression, scan is going to return, it's going to return 1,000. That means it's got the number, and it's going to store inside. So scan is going to store inside of V so scan is going to return 1,000, and it's going to put into V the 321. The next time we use scan is going to return the code for a plus. The codes for characters are all, 128 or less, and so we don't care what scan does with V. So this is RT. The scan puts a value in RT, and we're going to keep on going so long as we have not found the dollar sign at the end. Okay, and so if the return value is the 1,000, so if the return value is int 1,000, before we printed it out, but now what do? We are pushing. So if the return value is this 1,000, we push the integer, we do an I push. So that means that the I stack gets the 321 pushed on there. So that's what we do if the return value is the 1,000. But otherwise, the return value is going to be one of the operators. It'll be a plus. It'll be a dollar sign. And in that case, we need to process the operator. And we want to keep on doing this until we get to the dollar sign. Yeah, that says while it's not equal to the dollar sign. Yeah. Okay. But otherwise, so if it's an integer, we push it onto the integer stack. But if it's not an integer, we need to take some action based on what? Based on two things. The incoming value, we look at what's on the O stack, and we compare what's on the O stack with the incoming operator, which in this case would be the code for a plus. So we translate, we do a couple things here. We translate the incoming value to a number between 0 and 7. Okay, so that's nuts. You remember this horrible array way at the top. So this is way at the top. Row zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The incoming value is which row we're at. We translate sharp gets translated to 0. So going across the top, left paren gets translated to a 1, right paren gets translated to a 2, all the way through, so dot, dot, dot. So plus, minus, multiplication, division, and dollar sign. These get translated to 3, 4, 5, 6, and the dollar sign gets translated to 7. Okay, going back to the bottom. We translate the incoming value to a number between 0 and 7. We translate what's on top of the operation stack to a number between 0 and 7. And then we have an action that we're going to carry out. And how do we find that out? We plug in the incoming value into the action array as the row value, and we plug what's on the top of the operation stack in as the column value into our array, which is called, notice our array is called action. Okay, so having done that, the numbers in here tell us what we're supposed to do. If the incoming, what happens a lot of the time is that we push the incoming value onto the stack. Okay, so, and then what do? We go back and get the next, value. Okay, so going back to the bottom here, we have here then what's coming out of this action array is a number. It could be a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. 0 means error. So we're hoping we aren't going to get a 0. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a switch. Based on the value coming out of our two-dimensional array. Switch on act. So we have a number. Remember how the switch statement works. You have inside, between the braces, we have a number of cases. So one case is we're going to have a 1. So what does a 1 mean? A 1 means it's that we want to push the incoming thing onto the operation stack. So what we're going to do then is we're going to do O push. So remember, O, it refers to the operation stack. We're pushing the return value onto the stack. Okay. Is there anything else we need to do? Well, that's it. So we'll break out of the switch. Yes? No? The way a case works is that gives you a target. So if action is a 1, if the act is a 1, we skip down here, we push the incoming operator onto the stack, and we don't want to do anything else. So case 2. Anybody recall what case 2 is? That's more like, so 2 corresponds to, say, maybe we had we had 3 times 4 plus 5 $sign. And so let's draw a picture here. Here's the I stack. So that's for the integers, right? And we have the O stack. So there's the 3. That gets pushed on here. Then we hit to begin with, we've got a sharp on here. The asterisk gets pushed on. The code for the asterisk gets pushed on. Then we hit the 4. That gets pushed on here. Then we hit the plus. So the incoming is the code for a plus. That's the incoming. And so we've got a multiplication on the stack, and we're over here. Do we want to do the addition before the multiplication? No, the rule is you do multiplication first. And so what's returned here, the act that's returned when the incoming is a plus, and there's an asterisk on top of the stack, is that we're supposed to do a 2. We're supposed to carry out this multiplication. Yeah? Nod your head, yes. Okay, excellent. Okay, so so that's what case 2 is. We're going to carry out this operation. Okay. So this case 2 is going to be the bigger case. It's going to have in it, it kind of depends upon what's on top of the stack. This would be one situation where we pop this guy off and carry out the other operation. What about this? 3 plus 4 plus $5 sum. What happens here? We push the 3 onto the I stack. The operation stack has a sharp on it. We hit a plus, so I put the plus on there, no problem. I put the 4 on there, and then the incoming is a plus, and there's a plus on there. Do you carry out the first plus? Yeah. So this is another, so if it's plus, plus, incoming is a plus, there's a plus on the stack, we're going to carry out the operation. So this is also a 2. So if it's incoming is a plus and it's a plus on the stack, we do the 2. So whatever the operation is, whether it's a multiplication, if it's time to do the operation, so if the action is a 2, we need to take whatever the operation is off the stack and carry it out. Okay? Yes?
2 of what?
Excuse me?
Said if the action carry out to 2.
Right.
2 of what? Like just a 2 integer? Like just
integer 2. Yeah, so going back up, let me leave here for a second and go back to the top. So count over here, row 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I go down here, 0, 1, 2, 3. This is the plus. So if it's plus against plus, so if there's an incoming of plus and there's a plus on top of the stack, we're going to carry out the plus that's on top of the stack. If the incoming is a plus and what's on top of the stack is a multiplication, we're going to carry out the multiplication. So keep in mind the row is the incoming operation, the column is what's on top of the stack. So in both cases here, again, count over 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So this line right here is where the incoming is a plus. And if the incoming is a plus and what's on top of the stack is a plus or a minus, or is a plus or a minus or a multiplication or a division, we're going to do the operation that's on top of the stack. Okay. So in case 2, I can put in a comment here. We're going to carry out the op on top of the stack. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do then is we're going to get that operation that's on the stack. So that's going to involve what? That's going to involve looking at it. We can so we can do pardon me. We're going to do an O pop. We're going to pop it off. Remember, okay, you put stuff on to the operate with an O push. You take stuff off with a O pop. And what does this return? It returns what the operation is. It's going to return the asterisk, or up here it would return the the plus. So the OPOP operation pulls it back off. Yeah? No.
This is
Hmm?
Is the file that you have on your thing, is this a copy of file, because it seems like you have more on file that's on your thing now than what you're putting on here.
Well, there's a lot of stuff. Okay, so there's this array, right?
Yeah,
There's this thing that translates.
you just wrote that, right? The switch?
This switch, no, the switch that where I'm working is all the way at the bottom of the file.
Okay.
Here's main. This is close to the bottom of the file, and so we're working here in the middle of this switch here. Yes? No? Okay.
So what's the homework look like for this?
I'm going to have you add an operation.
Times what?
I'm going to have you add one more operation to this. Exponentiation. I'm going to help you with it, but one of the things you're going to mess with this table. We're going to have one more column and one more row. Okay. So that's one change. But right now, what I'm interested in doing is getting the operation off the stack. So I'm going to say something like this: int OPOP. Int the operation is going to be when you run the. Let's look at what else we got here. Okay, so way at the top, we've got this table. We've got this thing that translates the operation, the actual operation, the sharp operation, or the left parenthesis, or the right. What does it do? It translates them into a row and column numbers here. So sharp, you return a 0. Left paren, you return a 1. Right paren, you return a 2. The plus, you return a 3. That's so we can plug into this wonderful array that you get to fix by adding in one more row and one more column. What symbol do you want to use, for instance, for exponentiation? You want to say,
Caret.
yeah, 2, a caret, 3 caret 2, that means 3 squared, okay? So you'd be adding in one more operation. So one thing that you would be putting down here, case, quotes, a caret, so that's the shift of the 6. So if that's the case, we're going to return, instead of returning a 7, we'll return an 8. Okay. So that means that up here in our table, we're going to have a caret, and we also need to have one more row down here. So I'm not putting it in, but okay, so there's going to be this row down here. I'll just put in 0, 0, 0. Right now we aren't doing it. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you need one more item in each. So those zeros aren't correct. They have to be something different than 0. And you need one more. This would be what? It would be, now there's 9 rows right there. Up. Okay. here, I'll put it, so right now I'm just cheating, yeah. So though the right-hand zeros here and the zeros here at the bottom, that needs to be fixed. I mean, I'll give you some time. You can talk to me about it. So the translation then is what lets us use this table. The only purpose of this table is that it kind of tells us what we need to do. Okay. What comes below this translation? What comes below the translation? Well, we've got the scan function, and the scan then picks out the individual items out of the string. So if it's a 3, it picks out the 3, but if it's 31, then it picks out the 3 and the 1. So the scan is kind of nice like this. If it hits spaces, it ignores spaces. Okay, so scan is this kind of nice function. It was not terribly hard. Scan returns a value, which is either the operator. If we're on an operator, it's returning the code for the operator. If we're on a number, it returns 1000, meaning you've got a number, and it puts into V the actual number. Okay, so what's below scan? Well, this is where we set up the stacks. We have the integer stack here, which, you know, what are the operations with the stack? You push stuff onto the stack, you pop stuff off the stack. Occasionally you just want to know what's on top of the stack. So there's the I stack, that's the integer stack, and then already I'm down here to the operator stack, the O stack. And again, we have the operations for the operation stacks are the O. We push operators onto the operator stack, we pop stuff off the operator stack, and sometimes we just want to know what's on top of the stack. And then there's main. So that's the complete file. Okay. So what do we want to do if we're in so we get an action, we take the incoming thing, translate it to a number between now 0 and 8. We take what's on top of the stack and translate it to a number between 0 and 8. And we plug in the incoming code and what's on top of the stack code to come up with what action we're supposed to take. And then, and now we are actually carrying out the action. So if that array has a 1 in it, that means push. Take whatever the operation is. We aren't going to carry it out. We're going to push it onto the stack. If we're in a situation where what's on top of where the incoming, it's like this, 3 plus 4 plus 5, or 3 times, if the incoming is a plus and what's on top of the stack is a plus, or the incoming is a plus and what's on top of the stack has higher precedence, then we carry out the operation on top of the stack. So what does that involve? Well, it depends what is on top of the stack. And there are, for us right now, there are 4 possibilities. There could be a plus, a minus, a multiplication, or a division. And we're going to carry out those operations on the stack. So we need to get the operation that was on top of the operation stack. There it is. We do the OPOP. So we've got the operation. And we need to get the data that goes with that. Okay, so there's going to be a 4 and a 3 on top of the stack. You know, we're either multiplying the 3 and the 4, or we're adding the 3 and the 4, or it's 3 minus 4 plus 5. So if it's 3 minus 4 plus 5, then what's on top of the stack? Well, there's the sharp on the bottom and a minus on the top. I want to make sure that if it's 3 minus 4 plus 5, that I'm subtracting the 4 from the 3, and I'm not subtracting the 3 from the 4. What will be on the stack? Well, you hit the 3 first, so it's going to be on the bottom of the I stack, and then you hit the 4 later, it's going to be on the top. So the second number is what's on top of the I stack here. So I'm going to say here, int second equals I pop. I'm popping what? I'm popping the I stack. And then int first equals I pop. I'm popping the I stack twice. Now what do we need to do? We've got the operation. We've got the two things that we're operating on. The thing that was on top of the stack is the actual second number, because you, reading from left to right, you hit this first, it goes on, and then you hit the second number, it goes on top. And so I want to make sure that I carry out the operation in the right order. And what happens? We've done the popping. So the rule is, so now we need to carry out the operation and push the result back on. So let me set up a variable here. I'll call it result. So it depends a little bit, though, whether the operation is a plus, a minus, an asterisk, or divide. So this right here is where we're actually carrying out the operation. And so this is going to be a switch inside of a switch. I'm sorry. We're going to be switching on what the operation is. So one possibility is that the case that we're in is that we've got ourselves a plus. We've got ourselves a plus. What do we want to do? Well, we want to, the result is going to be first plus the second. I mean, this isn't terribly, so if, I'm way at the bottom of the screen, I'm sorry, and you should be complaining. Let me move it up a little. So if the operator, okay, if the operator is a plus, then we're going to add the first and the second. And I'll break out of this. That's it. I want to. We're through with the switch. We break out. But on the other hand, if the operator, so I want to take these three lines. If the operator, what we popped off the stack, op is what? It's what we popped off the stack. If it's a minus, then we want to subtract the second from the first and store it in result. And if the operator instead is an asterisk, we want to multiply the first by the second and store the answer in result. And finally, if the operation is a division, we want to divide the first by the second and break out of our switch. So, case 2, we pop off the operation. That means there's an operation that we need to carry out. We pop off that operation. We pop off the two things it's going to, the two pieces of data it's going to operate on, and we set up a place for the result. And if it's a plus, we compute the result as a plus. So this right here is where the operation is being carried out. What's the last thing we do? Well, we need to push the result. This is all case 2. So we're going to do an I push the result back onto the stack. So we're popping off the 3 and the 4, and if it's in a multiplication, we get a 12, and the 12 is pushed back on. If it's an addition, if it's 3 plus 4, we are adding the 3 and the 4 and pushing the 7 back on. So right here, then, is where we're doing the operation. So it's nuts. It's slightly more complicated than this. Right now, what's happening is that if we push the operator, we break out of this thing. Okay, so I still need way down here, way here at the bottom. I need a break out of this. So right now we're in. There's 2 more cases. That we need to worry about. And we aren't quite through with case 2. I don't know, 2 plus 3 plus 4 times 5 minus 7. Say it looks like this. So help me with this a little bit. What's the first thing that takes place? I have an integer stack here, I stack, and I have the op stack. So it starts off with a sharp on there. First thing we get is a 2. What happens to that? It pushed on to the I stack. This is the O stack over here, the operation stack. And then we hit a plus. That gets pushed on over here. Then we hit what? A left parenthesis. What happens with that? It gets pushed on. Right. Then we hit a 3. It gets pushed on. We hit a plus. It gets pushed on. We hit a 4. It gets pushed on. We hit an asterisk. Well, it gets pushed on. We don't want to carry out the plus before that. We get the 5. It gets pushed on over here. And then we get to the right paren. What happens now? So the incoming now is a right paren. Everything else got pushed. But when you hit a right paren, that's saying we've come to the end of a parenthesis, that there's a left paren further back. All of the operations inside of the parentheses need to be carried out. In this case, there's just 2 of them. We haven't added in the exponentiation, in which case there might yet be, there could be an exponentiation on top of there. So we hit this right paren. Where is that? Let's see, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. That's this line here. So what are we going to do? If we're on that right paren and we have a multiplication, which is what's on top there, okay, right paren, multiplication, we are going to carry out the multiplication, and we're also going to carry out the addition. So, we aren't going to be getting, we don't get a new, we aren't going to move to the new operator until we carry out this and this. When do you get a new operator? When you end up, when we get through, so long as the action says 2, we carry this out. So I mean, I said this, so in other words, with this right paren, we're going to pop this guy off. This guy pops off. We're going to do what with these two things? We're going to multiply them. We're going to get a 20. So these two things are gone, and there's a 20 here, right? And we still have the right paren, but this is gone now. We're back to the plus. The plus says, okay, pop off the top two things. That would be the 20 and the 3. Carry that out. That's 23. So the 20 and the 3 are gone, and now we are pushed back on the 23. And then we get to where there's so now what's on top of the stack is a left paren, and the incoming is a right paren. So here, the incoming is a right paren. What's on top of the stack is a left paren. What is it time to do now? We've used the right paren to carry out all the operations inside of here. And as a matter of fact, sitting on top of the stack, we have the result of what goes inside. I mean, what is the thing about parentheses? You do what's inside first. And we have that result on there. So now in this situation, now it's time to move ahead. What happens in case 3 is you just pop this thing. We no longer need this because we have the result on the stack. So case 3 is when the incoming, we've gotten to the right paren, and we've popped all the way back. We've carried out all the operations, so we're all the way back to the left paren. So it's time for this thing to go, and it's time to get get a new input here. So yeah, there's going to be then case. So now we're down to case 3. We're going to do an OPOP. All we're doing here in case 3 is we're popping off the, beg your pardon, we're popping off the operation. Okay. All right. This is almost right. This stuff here, the unfortunate thing though, is this part here that is that this when you do this step 2, okay, so when we're in case 2 and we carry out a step 2, so remember, what are we doing? We're getting the operation, we're getting its 2 operands. What the operation work, yeah, that's a good word to learn. The operation, and what's the operation, what values does it work on? Those are called the operands. Isn't that a great word, operand? It's good jargon. You can use it, the next time you're at a meal and you want to impress somebody. 3 plus 4, the operands are the 3 and the 4. The operation is, everybody knows that the operation is a plus. Operand. Okay. So we get the operation, we get the operands, If the operation is a plus, we do a plus. Okay, that's fine, but with this right paren and the asterisk and the right paren and the plus, we didn't, once we do the asterisk, it's not time to do another scan. You know, when we do a scan, that's going to get us, that moves us on through here. But when we get to the right paren, we want to do this and this, so long as we've got ourselves a 2. And so the situation is, why did we start doing case 2? We started doing case 2 because what was on top of the stack, look, well, going back up here. So this is the slight, okay, this is ugly, I guess. You've got to appreciate a certain amount of ugliness here. So what you have with the right paren, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, is that you don't stop doing 2 if the incoming operation and what's on top of the stack still gives us a 2. And so what I'm saying here then is, yeah, I'm going to be doing, this is slightly embarrassing, I'm sorry, but we're going to be doing, have you seen a do before?
We've never
I don't think we've done one in this class.
Yeah, we've never used one in this class.
A do while. I love do whiles. Yeah, sure I do.
What's the difference between a do while and just a regular while?
Well, the difference is that you make the check on the bottom. So if you have a while, we've got, I still have 3 minutes. So if you have a while, parenthesis, open brace, close brace. So if this condition is true, you come down here and do everything between the braces, and then you go back and check. If it's still true, you're guaranteed to do all these things again and go back and check again. That's a while. A do while, the do, open brace, close brace, while, some condition. You're guaranteed to do all these things here, and now you check the condition, and if it's true, you go back. So you're guaranteed that you're going to do this stuff once. Okay. So the point is, we've kind of already, if we're in case 2, we've already done the check that we're in case 2. And so what we need to do then is, the question is whether we're still in case 2. Remember, we have popped off the operation, we've gotten our operand, we've gotten the operand, we carried out, we did the evaluation, and we pushed the result back on somewhere here. I push, way down here where it's hard to see. We push the result back on. So what it's time to do at this point we want to keep this up while we still have a 2. And the point is that if the incoming is still a left paren, and we still have another operation on, we've done the asterisk, and now we're back to the we've computed the 20, and now we're back to this. So while action brackets. The incoming is the same. So what did we call that up here? All the way up here, it was called IN, yeah. So while action, IN, brackets what's on top of the stack. So what do I have to do? I have to get what's on top of the stack. Well, that's O top. And I have to, that's the actual character. I have to plug that into the wonderful translate function. So this is a little embarrassing. There we go. While that is equal to 2. Okay.
We can't see it.
Oh, you can't see it. Sorry. Okay. Here, Yeah, I'm really, okay, so this right here, so here we're carrying out the operation, we're pushing the result back on, and now we are checking what's on top of the operation stack. So there's an operation there. I translate it to being a number between 0 and 8, and plug that in as the column value, and then we plug in the row value, which would still be maybe that left paren. And if it is, then we're going to go back and we're going to carry out whatever's on top of the stack is going to get popped off, and we'll carry. So the point is, we might have to do this more than once. That happens, for instance, with a left paren. Okay, yeah. And now we are out of time. Thank God. So I don't. Well, it'd be nice to check if this thing compiled. GCC. This is eval. Okay, all of them. That's line 1, 2, 9. I don't know. I left off a semicolon. There, I put a semicolon in. Hallelujah. Okay, that doesn't mean it's right.